Welcome to the Mike Litton Experience Podcast. Mike has over 31 years experience in real estate, finance, and investing. He's passionate about being a father, a teacher, a realtor, an investor, and a leader. Everyone has a story, and our passion is to help them tell it. And now, introducing the host of the Mike Litton Experience, Mike Litton.
So what can you expect from the Mike Litton Experience? You can expect stories that will inspire, motivate, advice that will sharpen your focus, and expert information on real estate, finance, and market conditions.
And I get there, and the first day, I don't even have a presentation ready. I'm speaking in a couple of days, and it was $8,000 to go to this event. So there was 1,000 people there. Mm-hmm. And they came to see two speakers, Lee Brower and myself. So I remember sitting by the pool the first day. I got one of those umbrella drinks, got a baseball hat. I mean, I'm living this up on the island. And the people from the event, the attendees, were starting to show up, and they got their lanyards on, and they're hanging out all around me, but they have no idea that I'm one of the speakers. And I heard this one lady, she's going through the brochure, and she's looking at it. She goes, "Oh my God, Lee Brower, he's one of the speakers from The Secret." And then she goes, "Sam Crowley? Who the hell's Sam Crowley?" And the lady goes, "I don't know. I never heard of him." And I'm like, "Oh my God. Oh my God." So I put my hat down, and I just like, "Oh my God, what am I going to do? I don't belong." I mean, that just solidified. I do not belong here. Mm-hmm. So I got to my room, called my wife. I said, "I think I'm going to throw up." I told her. She goes, "You're fine. Just don't come home. My God, you got to get paid, you know?" Right. They paid you to be there. Mm-hmm. So I started working on my PowerPoint, and I had to give a 4-hour presentation. And Lee spoke first in day one. He crushed it, did great. And day two was me. And so I remember just being in the green room, and he got all the hair and makeup going on. I'm like, "Oh my God." So I just said, "God, just be with me, man. Give me the power. Holy Spirit, show up for 4 hours." And because I can't do this, man. This is not me. Yeah. Here's the thing. When they introduced me, came out on stage, and I saw, 1,000, 1,200 people going nuts. I said, "You know what? This is why I'm here. Like, this is why I went through everything I've gone through, the bankruptcy, the job, travel, relocation, not seeing my kids. This is what it's about." And a calm just came over me, Mike. It was like, you got it, man. Now, I believe, I'm a Christian, so I believe in the Holy Spirit. Like, I believe I've got, like, I'm bulletproof. Like, that's people like, "You're so confident." Like, no, that's the Holy Spirit. Like, that's God working through me. It's not me. Even my podcast, I tell people that's God using me as a vessel. I get the word from him, and I just share it with you. It's not for me to judge. Just, harvest the best and throw away the rest. And it takes so much pressure off of me and anybody else who really believes that. So I spoke for the first 2 hours. They took an intermission. Crowd's going nuts. The owners of the company come backstage, and I'm just drinking a water, like, "Dude, you're killing it. Where have you been? We never even heard of you. This is amazing. They love you." And I'm like, "Oh, wow, thanks." So I spoke for the next 2 hours. They had to escort me out through the kitchen by security just to get me out of the place, because the place was going nuts. And I'm telling you, man, and from that event, I developed some marketing chops. So I went to Hawaii. I probably had $40 in my checking account, right? Had a little in a savings account, but really living minute to minute, not even month to month. I made 25 grand keynote, sold $150,000 of coaching while I was there. So I sold $175,000 in a week. And that's when I realized the power of a message. Like, everybody's got a story to share. Everybody's got a lesson to teach. You can never say the wrong thing to the right audience. All right. That is just, when you got that audience, that's why I podcast every day, because that's my audience. That's my tribe. They get it. I don't have to explain it to them. They understand what every day is Saturday means. And that's when my whole career just took off, and it was just a flipping rocket ship from there.
That's awesome, man. What a great story. That was one of my favorite stories from the book, was you sitting on poolside. Yeah. And you're overhearing these people go, "Who's the Sam Crowley guy?" Right? Wow. It's like towering, and you're like, I don't even know if it's like the imposter syndrome, right? I don't even know if I belong here, I
still get uncomfortable now just thinking about it. Like, and they were right. Like, who the hell is this guy? Like, I've never heard of him. You'd think if I paid $8,000 to go to an event, I'd get something better than some clown from Cincinnati I can't even find him on the internet, So, yeah.
Killed it, though. That's awesome.
Yeah,
that's awesome. So you do the deal, you're off and running. What happens next?
Well, from there, I did my very first online product launch. I created a product called 6 Days to Saturday. And at the time when we used to have CDs, you remember CDs, Mike, the audio, you'd put them in there,
Yeah.
So I created a 6 CD course called 6 Days to Saturday, taking people through the process of preparation to that day, Saturday, when, I mean, you look up at the clock and you don't even care. You don't even know what time it is because the day's just flying. So the whole premise of the course was to help people with the mindset of preparation, taking action, overcoming adversity, committing to your dream, and all of that. And I named each CD Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Saturday, Friday, Saturday. And then I had some affiliates come on board. I learned the internet marketing game, had Bob Proctor and Joe Vitale and all these other, pretty big name people, Les Brown, people like that, emailing for me to promote it. And I did $1 million launch in 2009 with that product. Grew an email list from 0 to 100,000 overnight because of all of these people that were promoting. And then I became an internet marketer. I learned how to market, and how to do an email list, how to, there wasn't really social media. I mean, Facebook was around, but not like it is now,
Right.
So it was mainly email marketing and podcasting for me at the time, and doing webinars, having people show up on webinars, and also getting booked to speak. I got a good story. This was one where I was asked to speak in Orlando, and the guy said, there's going to be 500 people there. Now, as a speaker, whenever anybody tells you how many people are going to be there, you can immediately chop that number in half.
Right.
Every promoter, they're not intentionally lying, but I think they're just overly hopeful of how many people are going to show up.
Overly optimistic, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So there was about 50 people at this event. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I had to pay my own airfare and accommodations just to go to Orlando, and there's 50 people in the room. But I remember the Michael Jordan saying, hey, somebody's seeing you for the first time, so give it everything you got. Now, I'm not comparing myself to Michael Jordan. I'm using that as an example of bring your A game, because somebody's seeing you for the first time. Don't phone it in just because there's only 50 people there. Yeah. Well, I did my presentation on podcasting, and there was a girl named Margene Holden there, and she was booking speakers, talent for T. Harv Eker. T. Harv Eker wrote a book called The Millionaire Mind, and New York Times bestseller. And Margene comes up afterwards. She's like, where have you been? I've never heard of you. I go, yeah, I get that a lot. She goes, would you come to Australia? I go, sure. When? She goes, next month. I go, okay. So I went to Australia and spoke at an event there. I mean, I'd never been, it was a 2-day trip. You lose a day. I flew out Sunday, got there Tuesday. Monday didn't happen because it just goes away when you're in the air, I guess, you know? So I speak at an event in Australia. I was only in Australia 3 days. Most people go there for like 2 weeks just for the jet lag, but
if they lose a day, right?
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
But I flew there, spoke in Sydney, Australia, did really well, and then came back. And while I was catching my connection, I was in the Detroit airport. I literally just got off the plane and my phone rings. It's a lady named Mary Glorfield, who worked for Tony Robbins for 20 years, ran executive, she traveled every single event Tony did. She coordinated all of it. She said, hey, Sam, my name's Mary Glorfield. I heard you did a really great job in Australia. Would you like to speak in Los Angeles next month? I'm like, sure. I'm literally no sleep, jet lag beyond belief. I don't even know what zip code I'm in. And so I just raised my hand, said, yep, always raise my hand. Yes. So that event in LA, Mary had me on stage. There was 800 people there. I sold $150,000 in 1 hour. And, you split that with a promoter 50-50, but you get to keep the emails of the people that buy. So I probably sold another 100 and some thousand from the people who bought. In addition to that, had an upsell from their coaching. And I'm like, wow. And I remember when I was taking the flight back, I was going from LA to Atlanta, was my first layover. And on the flight to Atlanta, I had all these orders. I had 150 order forms at $9.97. I had to process online. I had my laptop open, and I'm just there, $9.97, enter, $9.97, enter, $9.97. And there's this guy sitting next to me. He goes, hey, you mind me asking what you're doing there? I go, oh, yeah, I'm just entering order forms for people who bought my product. He goes, what do you do? I said, I'm a speaker. He goes, I'm a speaker. He goes, is that a keynote? I go, no, not really. I don't do keynote speeches. I will, but mainly I like selling from stage. So he goes, oh, I never even heard of that concept. He goes, how many order forms? I go, 150. He said, for 1,000 each? I go, yeah. He goes, that's a pretty good hour of payday for a speaker. Go, yeah, it ain't bad. It ain't bad, man. It ain't bad. And he was enamored by it. And he messaged me when I got back. He wanted to just learn a little bit more. And I think he ended up taking a speaking business from, everybody's competing for keynotes, as a speaker. And it's a race to the bottom price wise. I'm just not interested in that. Like if I'm going to speak, I will always speak for a keynote. I have no problem doing it. I'd rather speak for free and be allowed to sell my program at the end, you know? Yeah. I just think there's more value for everybody that way. There's no pressure on the, you know, anybody that puts the event together. They have to pay the speaker. I'm pretty good at sales. If there's value to what I present, people will buy it, you know?
Yeah, I agree.
So made 150 grand at that one event, speaking for an hour, 90 minutes total. And I had a time of my life. And from there, Mary still books me to this day to speak. I'm speaking at an event in El Paso coming up.
Mm-hmm.
And
23rd, you know, 23rd of September.
Yeah, 23rd of September. Yeah. So she's been a long-time advocate of mine, one of the most amazing people I've ever met, one of the most well-connected. I mean, she used to book the Norman Schwarzkopfs of the world and presidents. And, you know, I mean, she's the most, and of course, Tony, you know, she was always, she's got Tony in her cell phone and just an amazingly well-connected lady, but even a better person. Yeah. So this entrepreneurial journey has afforded me to meet so many amazing people and do things that I never, as a stuttering kid in Bradford, PA, trying to overcome that speech problem I had, never would have in a million years dreamed that I'd have a podcast that's been downloaded over 20 million times in 226 countries, to be on stages all around the world, in Australia, in London, Toronto, Vancouver, all the big cities in the US. Just a kid from Bradford, PA, man. It doesn't make sense until you really connect the passion part to it. Then I think it makes sense, not just for me, but for anybody, that they could do something like that, you know?
Yeah. So I think I've shared with you, you and I have a lot in common. You have a Maddie. I have a Maddie. My Maddie's 23, yours is 22. Yep. I had a stuttering problem as a kid. I'm 56, you're 55, right? I mean, we just have, you know, Secret of My Success was one of my favorite movies.
Yeah.
The whole thing, right? Wall Street, the whole deal. So I immediately connected with you when we started working together, and I got a chance to get to know you. And listening to your book, it's on Audible, but listening to your book, I've had an opportunity to connect with you even more. And you know, the story about Matthew, just I was driving and it literally brought me to tears. I mean, it's just, you know, being a dad, and it just you did a great job with that book. You really did.
Thanks, man.
You're an amazing storyteller.
Thank you.
You know, I felt the pain and the shame that you had going through bankruptcy. I've never been through it. But it really got to me, man. I mean, it really had an impact on me, more so than you even realize, I'm sure. And I can't thank you enough. So this has been an amazing journey for you. And I'm so proud of you. And I'm so excited to be working with you. I found you through, I think it was a YouTube ad.
Yep.
I had been looking up things about podcasting and that kind of thing, and you popped up, and I reached out to you. And like I said, we immediately connected in a way that I connect with people, but I don't normally connect on this level. And I knew I was going to hire you, and we figured out a way to make it work. And from the bottom of my heart, I can't thank you enough. I did not know what I was doing. I was completely a babe in the woods, and I was just doing what you coach, which is just go do it. Just get in there, right? So I had my equipment. I had my Spotify account that I'd set up, and the first thing you said was stop. Don't put anything on Spotify. You need to do your own and then put it out there everywhere. By the way, yesterday we got approved on Spotify. Very cool, right? We got online and got going from a Tech Tuesday call that was supposed to last 30 minutes. It lasted an hour and 32 minutes. Okay. Perry and Corey stayed on with us and stayed on with us and stayed on with us. We were in websites. We had wrong passwords. I mean, we had everything on the planet that could happen. The SSL certificate never went through. We had to come back later and do that. But Corey gave us a quick patch so that we could get it done. I can't tell you how unbelievable your team is.
Thank you.
I mean, from the beginning of this all the way through, and I think you told me the other day in our coaching call, I've got like 35 days left with you or something like that in the program. But I've learned so much, man. In this 25 days, it has been insane. And I'm so unbelievably proud to be in this with you, and having you come alongside and help me has just been invaluable. And I'd like to encourage anybody that listens to this, if they're thinking about podcasting. And by the way, I interviewed a guy yesterday who wants to do a podcast, and I'm sending him to you
All right.
because I told him how amazing you are, right? And so I feel like people need to get together with you. So I know they can Google you. I get that. But if they want a website where they can contact you, is it launchwithsam.com?
I'd say launchmymovement.com.
Launch My Movement. Okay. .com. Okay.
Yep. That's the easiest thing.
And by the way, you're super easy to talk to and super easy to work with. You have a heart for this, and you have a heart for the people you work with. And it really shows. It really does. And I can see why people want you to come speak. I can see why people gravitate to you, because I do. And every time I listen to you, either on your podcast or we talk, or I'm pumped up, man. I get motivated. I mean, I love the thing about abnormal means above normal, I love that stuff. That's my kind of stuff. That's kind of right. So I was certified in sales mastery by Tony Robbins 32 years ago.
Oh, wow.
And, one of his people that coordinated this whole thing, they were a monitor or whatever, they ended up leaving him a few months later, and they went to work for a speaking bureau, a speaking company that had like Bill Clinton and Henry Kissinger and a bunch of these different people in their stable. And he called me one day and he said, "Hey, I'm sending you an airplane ticket. I need you in Indianapolis tomorrow." I'm like, "Dude, what's up?" He goes, "I'm sending you this ticket. I need you in Indianapolis tomorrow." That was one of those rare times that I didn't do what you do, which is raise my hand and say, "I'll be there." I started asking him questions. And I asked him specifically, I said, "So what is this?" And he goes, "I was going to tell you when you got here, but he said, I'm sitting with Zig Ziglar, and Zig wants to hire you."
Oh, wow.
To come to Indianapolis for an interview. And I said, "Well, okay, but how many days a year am I going to be on the road?" He said, 300. And I said, "Miles, I love you, buddy. I love you. I met the girl I want to marry. And I don't know how I'm going to court her being on the road 300 days a year." So I actually ended up turning it down. I don't know what my life would have been like if I had said yes, if I had done what you did and just raised my hand, but we've been married 29 and a half years. We're coming up on our 30th wedding anniversary. I'm glad I made the move I did. We have two gorgeous children that came out really, really well. They're 23 and 24. And, life has all kinds of twists and turns and all that. And I cannot tell you how much it means to me that life brought me to you.
Yeah.
It really does. It really, from the bottom of my heart, this has been an amazing experience.
Yeah. Well, the feeling's mutual, because the two things you need to be successful, at least what I do, is a great attitude and a commitment. Everything else is figure outable. Anyone that wants to get started with a podcast or really anything, all of it's figure outable. That's what YouTube's for. Google, do your research, figure out how to do it. But it's never the how. It's always why you want to do it, what kind of passion. So we only require two things: great attitude and a commitment. Because if we're going to invest our time in you, I know you're investing money, but that's because you're buying your time. You want it done quickly, fast, the right way. You don't want to spend 6 months trying to figure it out. So that's why people buy their time, so they don't have to try to do it on their own and end up doing it the wrong way. But if you got
that's what you did. That's what you did for us.
Yeah.
I mean, really.
Yeah. Great attitude and a really great commitment to seeing it through. Like, you've got 10 episodes already. We're doing this interview right now. Off and running. If you get past episode 3 as a podcaster, 3 episodes, you're in the elite group of podcasters. That's amazing. Sad, but amazing,
That's amazing, man.
So podcasting is so huge. So many people all around the world are listening all the time, from their treadmill, walking the dog, in the kitchen, hanging out. Like, I'll be on my laptop listening to a podcast. It's so easy to consume. Why would you not want to create a message so other people can hear it? And it doesn't need to be fancy. It's just, we talk about, everybody's got a story to share and a lesson to teach. What are you passionate about? Start sharing that story and let everybody else decide whether or not they want to listen.
Yeah, I totally agree, man. And I've been in radio and television in San Diego since 2011, and I gave my radio show up because I wanted to go watch the kids at their events and be involved in their high school, because they're only in high school once, and they were going into high school at that time. And I realized that I was running out of time with them. And so I gave it up. And from 2014, when I gave it up, I wanted a podcast. And it took me 9 years to get to you and 9 years to get this thing going. And this dream came true a couple of weeks ago, a 9-year deal. And it, I should have done it way sooner. I wish I had, but I'm glad I did it when I did, because it led me to you. So
love it.
I can't thank you enough, buddy.
My pleasure. It's been awesome working with you.
Yeah, I've really enjoyed it. Thank you for joining us today. Is there anything else you'd like to cover?
No, I think we're good, man. I appreciate you having me on. It's been a long time since I told that story from start to finish. So thank you. And again, if anybody's interested, if you think that, hey, I kind of heard about this podcasting thing, or maybe you don't have any idea that's fine. That's what we're for. So you can go to launchmymovement.com. Worst thing is you'll book a Zoom call. You and I'll have a conversation. You'll walk away with some great ideas.
You will. And you walk away with value, even in that initial conversation that's free.
Yep.
So I would highly encourage people, launchmymovement.com, right? Launchmymovement.com. Get together with Sam. He'll take great care of you. I appreciate you, buddy.
Thanks, Mike. Have an amazing rest of your day, and congrats for the podcast. That's awesome. You're off and running.
Thanks, buddy. I'm proud of you. Thank you so much.
All right.
We hope you enjoyed another episode of the Mike Litton Experience. If you did, do us a favor, smash that subscribe button, tell your friends, family, and coworkers about our program, and wherever you get your podcasts, please leave us a rating. It helps us to connect with quality people just like you.
And that's a wrap. Another episode of the Mike Litton Experience in the books. Reach out to Mike on Instagram at Litton Realty. Want to meet with Mike? Check out calendly.com/Rio760.